States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming. First item, approval of the June 20th study session minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Next up, approval of the bills list.
I didn't see anything wonky on there. Although I wasn't getting a nice check.
The only question I had, there's one for Golden Rule, and it says that 106 Park Water Break. Is that different than the one they broke, I guess, or that they were?
No, that's a different one. That's the one that it's sort of valid bad on us. And it also includes all the other water breaks. We had that whole entire 2-week period, 3 weeks period.
Okay, all lumped together.
Yeah, it's all lumped together.
Seems like a pretty good hole in the water sewer fund. Actually, given what we have on hand, it's not bad.
I know they put a dent in it.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, public comments. Hearing none, we'll move forward. Committee reports. Admin and finance, going through, we've actually had some pretty good movement on some of the funds. Street fund was actually up about 7,000, I think, when I was looking at it, 7,000, so we're at 215,000 there. Our capital improvements fund is up 16,000, so 354. The water sewer fund, we picked up 42,000, so we're at 134. Total of all accounts is about 1,400,084. So we're good on covering the balances that are setting up that bill. Next up, public health and safety.
He's on vacation.
Park board.
Nothing new really.
Just the agenda item. This is maybe something from park board. Planning and zoning. Public works.
We're gonna get our gather guy coming tomorrow to drop off the trailer. So we'll get started on the inside that tower next week. So we'll get that back in the service after they clean the inside of it and make sure we're good to go.
All the valves and everything here.
But they're in order. They're not in yet.
How long will that take, do you know?
I talked to ESI yesterday. He said that he would call me tomorrow. We just waiting on the 8-inch butterfly valve so they can get them in there. He said hopefully they'll be in tomorrow or not Monday, but he said as soon as they come in, he don't care what is ahead of us. He said he bump us up to the start. And so my goal is that hopefully we get everything done next week and then get it sanitized and put it back in service by next weekend.
Heck, project, that.
Yeah. And then I also like to say, the bills came in for the street project, the South Central and the South Park. Central came in at $70,540, and so that was like $15,000 underneath what they would bid it out to be. And Park Avenue came in at $58,172, which is about $7,000 less than what they bid it at. Altogether, came up to like $129,000. So I'm just letting you guys know that way. We can do phase 2 even though you guys.
Where do we stand on the box that's going to be placed there at the intersection of Oscar and Park?
I talked to him. He is ordering the box, and it takes 6 or so weeks to get the box in. So
And that's being made up independent?
yeah, that bar concrete.
Yeah, Parker, that's what I think. Okay, thanks.
Will that disturb the new surface street there?
Yes, we're gonna have to cut it in. They were supposed to leave us a section open for us to run that new pipe through, because we've got to upsize the pipe. Because right now it's like a 6-inch pipe, we're gonna go to probably a foot squash pipe. And they were supposed to stop at the west intersection of Hostetler, and then pick up after the east intersection of Hostetler, leave the whole intersection open, and then that's where we do a cut. Unfortunately, they just did it all the way through. So what we're gonna have to do is like how we did up here, we'll come in with saw cut it, put the new pipe in, put the new asphalt back down, and then seal the asphalt with some asphalt sealer.
The only problem with that, there's always a dip.
Yep.
But we can pay, I mean, we can pay something like all code come back out.
I say, well, we might if we end up doing the east end of the park.
Yeah.
Then come back and we work that piece and then come back.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have everything out
All the
there.
ones you did, you filled in with concrete aren't dipping.
Huh?
All the ones that you filled in with concrete though are smooth.
We can put it back with concrete, I mean, that's another option. Yeah, I was hoping to get them, like I said, we was out there and we talked to them, they were supposed to leave that whole section open for us, but they had extra asphalt, they wouldn't waste it, I don't know.
That looks good enough. Fairs and festivals?
We have 2 contracts, and also we're doing ice cream swindle tonight, in case you didn't notice. We have one for Mike Larkin's land, classic ride for $800, and Kim on for $600 to provide the audio equipment that Mike needs. So,
About 1,400 on the,
yeah.
We get a motion to amend the agenda
Make a motion to amend the agenda
to discuss the contract for fairs and festivals.
to discuss these contracts from the Fairs and Festival.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now what?
You good?
We'll have you lead off here right quick. So this is this for the festival in September? Or?
Yes,
Okay, so this-
for Friday night.
Okay.
It's Mike Larkin's band, but it's Classic Ride is the name of his band. And he
And it meets
didn't,
all our requirements, insurance.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah. And he didn't have sound equipment, so that's why we had to really come on for audio.
600.
Something you rented.
I'm sorry?
Is that something you just rented? The sound equipment? Ken Long?
Well, we're kind of renting it, we're having Ken Long do it for us.
Okay,
So, yeah, I guess
that's
so.
okay, good enough.
All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On behalf of the city of Buckner. There's one. This will be some compelling TV for the folks watching the video.
Yeah, it could be fascinating, aren't they? Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all stop by and get some ice cream.
Okay, next up, presentation from Mike Keith Insurance.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Mike was sorry he couldn't make it tonight. He was at a conference down south, but I wanted to come up and represent this evening. I've seen you all before. I don't know if anybody remembers the presentation I've done in the past. But we're here to discuss your 2024-2025 insurance renewal. And before we get started, have you guys seen this before? Have we shared this document with you? Doesn't look like it. This is just a little state of the insurance industry, things that we've been going through. It appears that we're coming out on the other side of things. But
We passed our seatbelt.
Excuse me?
So do we fasten our seatbelt?
Oh, no, this isn't a setup. You guys actually have a really good renewal, but we're just kind of sharing what's happening in the industry. If you start with the front page, the cover, that was actually the cover of Time Magazine, March 24th of 1986. And in 1987, because the insurance market was so hard and public entities were having such a hard time, the legislature formed a pool called MOPR, Missouri Public Entity Risk Managers. Back in 1987, you're not insured with MOPR, but just to share with you how difficult things were back then. If you flip on the inside page, and if anybody's watched the news in the last few years, and we all know the building prices kind of went crazy, at the top there, you'll see in that second sentence, the year 2023 marked the 9th consecutive year with 10 or more $1 billion disaster events, emphasizing a concerning shift toward a new normal. The cumulative cost of such events over the last 10 years surpassed 1.1 trillion, almost triple the 43-year average. And then you can see where all the things happen, which, Hawaii burned, Colorado burned a couple years ago, California is constantly on fire, and then we have hurricanes in Florida on the East Coast. And you might ask yourself, well, why does that impact us here in Missouri? Well, every insurance company buys insurance. So your insurance company will retain, I don't know the exact amount, but it could be $100 million. A big claim, big storm comes through, they'll take the first $100 million, and everything after that, they send it to reinsurance. So as these reinsurance carriers have been paying more claims, ultimately they have to send the cost down to your insurance carrier. So everybody's been seeing, I'm sure if you've got home, auto, business, you've seen the rates have gone up. That's because of what's in this document right here. If you look at the bottom graph, and then we'll move on, that bottom graph, the purple line that goes up to almost 400 billion that year was in 2017, and that was the year we had Hurricane Irma, Maria, and Harvey all in the same year. So just some interesting facts. We didn't make all this up. It's sourced on the back. Travelers, the NOAA, and then an organization called Willis Towers Watson. They put out a lot of good information. So I just thought I'd share that as we're getting started here. Okay, so we're here to deliver your renewal with the company Star. You guys have been with them for several years now, and they've consistently had the most competitive pricing, coverage, and deductibles. If you want to flip to the first page, we've got a breakdown. The far left side is going to be all the different lines of coverage. Then the middle column, you're going to see both the limits of insurance, the deductibles, and the premium. So there's two primary things that impact your premium. There's exposure, which means if we increase the building value, it's going to cost more money in premium. And then there's rate. So as the insurance companies have to adjust their rate to stay profitable, they have to raise the rate, or if they've got a surplus, the government will probably make a rate reduction. We haven't been seeing that. We've just been seeing rate increases. So as we go down through here, we can talk about rate and exposure. So on that first row is the property. You'll see last year you had a total insured value of $10,800,517. This year, the insurance company has increased it by 12.5% to $12,152,270. And you'll see that blanket out there beside. We initiated that change on your behalf this year. It was scheduled last year. Scheduled means each building stands on its own. When we blanket it, we can use the whole amount. That if one building we don't have quite enough at the time of loss, we can borrow out of the bucket. Now, in order to do that, we have to carry an adequate premium. We can't just cut the limit in half and say, well, we're not ever going to have a total loss everywhere. Let's just pay premium on half. The insurance companies tried that a long time ago. It didn't work out very good for them. So they make us carry at least 90% of the value. So that means if you have a $100,000 building, we gotta be carrying a limit of at least 90,000, and you paying a premium on 90,000.
Was that 80% last year?
It was, yeah, 80 last year. And in order to get blanket, you have to go to 90. So the values, the total insured value went up 12.5%. The total premium on that line went up 15.8%. So the insurance company applied about a 3% rate increase. That's very good. Another thing I want to point out to you, on the bottom part of that row, you'll see the deductible, $1,000. That is unheard of. What we're seeing most of the companies go to is a percentage deductible. So if you have a 1 or 2%, does everybody understand how those work? Okay. So as long as we can not have a percentage deductible, next year we might have to look at maybe a 5,000. That just seems to be the trend. But as long as we can keep you away from a percentage deductible, unless you've just got a war chest of money and you want to retain some of that, we would recommend you consider to take these. And it's per occurrence, not per building, per contents. So it's very competitive. The inland marine, you'll see the pricing and the coverage stayed the same. The general liability is based on your expenditures. So as expenditures go up or down, so does the pricing. But I'm sure there's also a little bit of a rate increase in there. The employee benefits stayed the same.
That's general liability. We've had some issues with water line breaks and
Yeah.
potential damage to the homeowners. That would get in that bucket.
We'll talk about that at the end of this. We'll get through this and then we'll address those questions and how the general liability would apply. Okay, so then employee benefits liability, that's basically errors and omissions for any of the benefits that you all are offering. If you have group benefits and you get a new employee, you start taking money out of their check or forget to get them enrolled, and then they have an issue, this would go to protect you if that were to happen. Public officials, that's for the decisions that you all make right here, and you'll see the pricing stayed the same, coverage and deductibles all stayed the same. The employment practices liability is included in that public officials. There's separate limits, they aren't shared, but it's all in one policy. The employment practices is hiring, firing, sexual harassment, discrimination, all those fun things we hope we never have to deal with. HR liability is another name for that. Law enforcement went up $464. That could be rate, or it could be based on, they charge based on the number of full-time and part-time officers. So as you increase or decrease, that premium is going to fluctuate. The autos, you guys added 3 autos January 23rd of this year. So that premium in the middle column, you'll see that $18,664. That's an annualized premium for all the vehicles. So even though you only had those vehicles for 6 months, we estimated what it would be for a whole year to put in here to give you a good comparison. So the increase there is going to be rate, purely rate increase, but the coverage and the deductibles are still all the same, low deductibles. And then the cyber liability, and that's something that I'm going to want to talk about with you all in the coming, well, I think we've already sent something over to Joe. So something that we're going to want to talk about, this is the bare minimum. And it comes with policy, STAR, 5 years ago or more, they just automatically included it. You couldn't opt out. Well, now we're encouraging all of our clients to look at increasing it, and we're going to do that here in the coming weeks. So if you get down to the bottom, the total renewal premium is up 13%, which we think is really good considering your property values increased by 12.5%. So you've got kind of more coverage for your money. You want to flip to the next page? This is a schedule of all the properties. And it looks like if you go, so as you look at this, you'll see column 1 says location at the very top. Go all the way down to where it says 215. That was a pump building and restroom that was added back in February. And then right below, we've got, looks like the spray park, which I know is underway. So is that the builder's risk on that, on the spray park?
They're done now, we finished.
Oh, it's done now, okay, perfect. And nice work. getting that, whoever did that, or if it was a grant, or if you guys just had money squirreled away for that. It's a great amenity for the community. If you want to flip to the next page, this is going to be all the inland marine or the contractor's equipment, is another name for it. Mowers, backhoes, skid steers, things like that. They get out and about around the community. These values, so unlike your building where we want to keep up with replacement costs, these values are going to be used value. So we should have the department heads every year looking at these just to make sure that they're not getting out of line. You know, if you looked at the, number 10, that T650 Bobcat, you know, we've got it listed at 65,000. If it's really 62,000, I probably wouldn't encourage you to move it. If it's 60,000, maybe we talk about it because the savings is going to be small, but we don't want them to get, real far out of line. They're only ever going to pay market value, saying year, make, model, hours, wear and tear. And there were no changes on this last year. Flip the next page. This is the auto schedule, and vehicles 10, 11, and 12 were the ones that we added back in January. Now, the cost new on these is just a rating basis, so don't get hung up on the cost new. It's only a factor in generating the premium. It's not, they're not going to use that in the event of a settlement, like they will on buildings or on inland marine. And if you flip to the next page, this talks about terrorism coverage, which, the beginning of the pandemic, when everything was on fire, people thought, ooh, it's pretty easy that something could happen. What just happened a few days ago? I've heard that term, terrorist attack, and what could happen with this election, who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully everybody just remains peaceful. But to have the terrorism included, it's $277 a year. And it looks like you took it in the past. Okay. I'd also like to note that back in 2019, when we became your representative, your renewal terms, the pricing was $129,276. So I feel like we've been doing pretty good for you for the last 5 years. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, just the one that I had earlier about the
Okay.
water line.
Can we address that next? Can I go ahead? Well, you've already approved it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, we'll move on to that. All right. Okay. So, some signatures. And then this is Has anybody read the sovereign immunity law recently?
Not recently.
Does everybody know what it is? And knows okay, because I went and printed this off of the Missouri website today, and sovereign immunity is something that dates back to before we were ever even here, coming over on ships. Goes all the way back to England, and the concept was the king can do no harm. Because if you sue the king, ultimately he's going to raise taxes on it. So there are immunities for public entities, and that's what this is, sovereign immunity. So I've highlighted some things in here for you to look at. I'll just go ahead and read the top one, which is the underlined part. Such sovereign or governmental tort immunity shall remain in full force and effect, except that the immunity of the public entity from liability and suit for compensatory damages for negligent acts or omissions is hereby expressly waived in the following circumstances. So basically what that means, I'm not an attorney, not going to pretend to be. Don't even play one on TV. So I can't give you legal advice, but our understanding after representing cities and counties for 40 years, 50 years, is what that means is that you are immune from all liability unless there's a known dangerous property condition. So you know that the monkey bars are bad. Somebody reports it, you don't fix it, kid gets hurt, you're responsible. You don't know the monkey bars are bad, he gets hurt, not responsible. Monkey bars are perfectly fine, he gets hurt, you're absolutely not responsible. So after any kind of a claim, there's gonna be an investigation. And that investigation is gonna determine, is the city negligent or are they not negligent under the property situation. Now there's another one that's, you always, anytime you're operating a vehicle on behalf of the city, kind of like the compulsory law, like everybody has to have auto insurance. So if you get involved in a wreck, you can be liable and sovereign immunity is waived. Or if there's a known dangerous property condition that results in bodily injury or property damage. And the legislature made this up. Your insurance company didn't make it up. This is made up by Jefferson City. So I'm gonna pass this out next, which is the endorsement that your insurance company puts on the policy to make sure that you are in, I don't know, comply with sovereign immunity. There's some language, if anybody wants to read it. So this is RSMO 537.600. If you go to 537.610, it will talk about limits of liability. And if you buy limits of liability in excess what sovereign immunity says you're supposed to have, you thereby waive sovereign immunity up to the limits you purchased. So that document that I just handed out to you says that when sovereign immunity applies, we're only going to pay what it says we owe so that you don't waive your sovereign immunity rights. So it dovetails. And every year, sovereign immunity changes. It normally always goes up just a little bit to keep up with inflation January 1st of each year. And when that happens, that policy will respond, your policy will respond because of that endorsement. There's one more document I want to share with you. This is directly out of your insurance policy, and instead of bringing the whole thing, I just printed the page that would be most important to this discussion today. So under the conditions, you'll see number 2, duty in the event of occurrence, offense, claim, or suit. You can see A. You must see that we are notified as soon as practical. Then there's, we won't take the time to read them all right now, but then you can see B, C, and then I want to point out D. And I'll let you all read that. And see if you have any questions. So there's currently an investigation. The claim's been turned in. Every time we have a new constituent call in for turning all of it in, there will be an investigation, and after that investigation, there will be a determination on how they will handle this situation. So I'm hoping not to give a political answer. We don't know how it's going to happen yet, but that's kind of the process. The company's going to come look for negligence. If there is no negligence, they'll make a determination. If there is negligence,
Is that any kind of graded scale that 30% negligent, or is it all
I don't think
lights
so.
on, lights off?
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. You know, we see things like the rain that everybody had a couple weeks, or was that a week ago? 7 inches in a couple hours. And when the water backs up through the drains, well, that's what they would call like a force majeure. You know, it wasn't your fault. Now, if someone could, well, I don't know what I remember. It wasn't your fault. You didn't make it rain 7 inches in 2 hours. That's nothing that was out of your all's control completely. So you should be held responsible. And that's how the policy will work. And sewer backup claims are often denied unless we can find that we knew there was an ongoing issue and we didn't remedy it. Then we see some get paid, but oftentimes it. So every time we have this discussion, we talk about notification of your constituents because they don't know unless their insurance broker tells them. You can buy sewer backup coverage, and it doesn't cost a lot. And that means anytime there's water that backs up through a drain in your house from the sewer, your homeowner's policy doesn't cover it. And if the city's not responsible, they're not going to cover it. So you need your homeowner's policy to step in. There's service line coverage you can buy now. Because the average service line, when it breaks on your side of the meter, guess who's responsible for it? The homeowner. Well, they don't know that. But it's $10,000 at least. And you can buy coverage for that, and it doesn't cost a lot. But if they don't have a good broker, or the broker, maybe they're not bad, but they just didn't bring it to your attention, or didn't advise you well, and you didn't buy it, then you've got a situation where there's potentially a claim that's not covered. And it's never fun. Those are never fun situations. Anybody else have any questions for me? I wish we could move this claim along faster. There are some system issues. Your insurance company has had some challenges with their computer system back to June 19th. And they hope to have them back up and going in August. They've assured us, they got the cyber. They had a cyber issue. And they think it was an inside job, is what I was told. So that cyber liability that we were talking about earlier also covers that. So we need to continue to have that discussion because these things are continuing. It is not going away. It's becoming more frequent.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Looking down through the schedule here of our automobiles.
Okay.
I don't think we need to carry full coverage insurance on some of these older vehicles.
Okay. If you'd like to see the cost on that, I don't have the pricing.
Well,
We can get that for you.
I think before we approve this, I think we ought to find out what we want to insure and what we don't want to insure. What is our time frame as far as the expiration on this policy?
Well, the
Jamie
policy.
first,
Huh?
July 1st.
July 1st. This is a hell of a note, isn't it?
7 o'clock.
Huh?
7 o'clock.
We're two
We're
2 weeks past.
We can
Because
make,
I have a difficult time carrying full coverage insurance on the 3 or 4 vehicle, the 2014 the Charger, because police department probably is not even using those vehicles, I'm guessing. What's the year of the one you driving, Joe?
14.
Okay. Then we've got a 1999 Ford, that old pickup. I don't think we need to be carrying full coverage insurance on it, collision and comp.
That's a dump truck.
No, that's the
Now that's
three-quarters that pickup
old
that we used
B10 that we got.
to use for the salt brine.
That's just there, and then looking over at what we've got covered here on our buildings and so forth. And just at the sewer treatment plant alone, we've got that valued at $1.6 million. That's just the building. You think that building is gonna take $1.6 million?
No, that's the whole-
Build
Yeah,
that
because
back?
there wasn't over $1 million just to dig those ditches and line them with concrete for the upgrade.
That building is probably not even 1,000 square feet.
And I'm just saying when the The upgrades that we're wanting to do, which is basically dig 6 trenches that are however long, put in a pump and. run the
I'm not
slugs
talking
in.
about, they're talking about a building.
I know, but if that's, digging ditches is gonna cost you $2 million, I'm gonna guess the building is gonna cost every bit of it. I mean, you could, yes, you can build a cheaper building, but I'm just saying that if we have any kind of regulatory, I don't know what the regulations on what we gotta put back.
In the salt barn, that's 3-sided building, it's $20,000. Well, there's several things in there I think we'll have to look at, what I'm saying, Mayor.
You can absolutely look through this list. We can get you quotes and we can do all that
Sure.
by endorsement. We can do it, we can make a change every day of the year on your insurance policy. We'd ask if not, but you could technically. So you're not bound by this for a whole year. This is just based on last year's information, the changes that you've made, and then the automatic mandatory 12% increase on property values.
Because to Mr. Jones's point, that 07 Ranger probably could be.
There's another one, yeah, one Joe used to drive.
Yeah,
On the
let's-
second, on the second page, like on the inland marine, you've got a deductible of 5,000, or of 1,000. What would happen if we raised that to 5,000? Now,
It would probably save you a few $100s a year, would be my guess.
and the liability we have on it, like on your automobile, I know most people carry 100, 500, or 100, or 100,000, 50,000, whatever. What are we carrying now? Can you tell me that?
Yep, you're carrying a limit that is required.
And then what is that?
It's $2 million, I believe,
2 million? Okay,
to comply with sovereign immunity.
is there such a thing as an umbrella policy that we ought to be looking at?
There is, we don't have very many public entities that purchase them, but there is.
Because of,
They've not felt like they've needed it in the past. It would have to be something that sovereign immunity didn't protect you from. So when I was sharing with you earlier, when sovereign immunity is waived, the dangerous property or operating an automobile, it's still limited. So it's like $350,000 per person and $3 million all persons. That's all anybody could ever sue you for under that scenario. There are some very outside chances if something went to the federal level. I guess it's conceivable that your Missouri State sovereign immunity may not apply. We've not ever seen that personally, but we can certainly get a quote for you.
okay, and then back to your, on the monkey bars, if it was told to us that there's something wrong with them, is there supposed to be some kind of a documentation? How do we know that we're liable? Who's to say that we were told that there was something wrong?
Yeah, it would come down to an investigation, but I'm gonna do something dangerous and make an assumption that if someone calls in, it's gonna be documented, then you're gonna have.
What I think of is potholes. They tell us there's a pothole on Hudson and they just destroyed their car. We're still not liable until they told us, but once we had a record of it, we had to investigate and make a good thing that repair. If we then ignore it and the next person gets it,
Okay,
that would
so-
be in this case.
Mr. Brown comes in and says, we got a problem out here on Hudson, the Chuckle. That happens on January 1. What length of time do we have to fill that Chuckle before we're liable?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but as soon as practical,
And reasonable.
probably.
Documentation again. You know, who do they report that to? You can't just walk in and tell the water clerk that you got a problem out here. It needs to be someone.
I'm only half kidding, but I can see it getting on the city's Facebook page. That they would report it that way. I'm not saying that's the acceptable way, but there would be, I think, an expectation the city would then be aware.
That's interesting, because I've never been on the city's Facebook page.
Haven't either.
I don't have one, so why would I get on the city's, you know what I'm saying? So I think I know we're in the era of
Social media?
well, social media, but when is it that you actually come in and report something, you know? Just because you put it on social media doesn't mean that we scan that every day. We don't have a social media person per se, I don't think. I mean, there should be some limitation as to how these documentation.
And there may be some by statute, I just don't know.
Well, I'm just asking a question.
Sounds like questions for Alex. Policies and procedures that you guys would create, and, you know, like for anything, I heard planning and zoning, you gotta come and get official, go through the process. That might be the first step in like, protecting yourself.
Well, I think, maybe the mayor, or I know he's not a full-time mayor, so he falls back in the lap of, the city administrator. I think we'd take a long look at what the value that we want to insure these vehicles and some of these buildings, to make sure we're not throwing bad money, or good money after bad, or whatever.
Or at least know the difference between full coverage and liability. And if it's not that, if it's not enough to mess with, you might as well have full coverage. But if there's a considerable amount of difference, then maybe we gotta look at it.
Sure. It's rarely ever the amount, like if you've got an older vehicle and it's worth $3,500, you know, it's not gonna save you that much money to be able to pay for the vehicle. It's always gonna be an out-of-pocket situation, but this is all part of your appetite for managing risk.
Yeah.
So when we talk about managing risk, I'll share real quick, you can avoid it. So if you're doing something that's extra risky, quit doing it. It doesn't really matter. You can avoid it, you can retain it. That would be like taking the physical damage off, raising deductibles, changing the building values, what we can. You can control it, which is what we talked about a minute ago. Maybe trying to put some policies and procedures in place. Transfer it, you hire a contractor, you get them to carry the insurance. We don't want anything to do with the liability. And what you can't do on those four things, then we finance the rest by buying an insurance policy.
Okay.
But those are good questions. So if you guys want to put a list together of what you'd like to see, then send that through Joe, and then we can get you quotes on deductibles, building values. Now, the insurance company probably won't let us go in and, you know, just slash a building in half, just because you think so. Like, we've got to have some documentation behind it. They use something called Marshall Swiftenbeck or CoreLogic or Xactimate, are all tools, software. Plug in the square footage, the type of building that it is, and then it'll spit out a number. And if we can get those to line up, or occasionally, they'll allow us to use a local contractor if they give us a good bid.
Very good.
Okay. Anything else? You guys been very,
Doesn't sound like it.
very gracious with your time. I didn't mean to take this much of your time, but appreciate it. Appreciate your business.
We didn't take much of your time either, but
Thank you.
that's what they pay you the big money now.
Do we need to vote on that, Joe?
Huh?
Do we need to vote on that? To accept the proposal with the understanding that we'll be revisiting the line item? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding purchase of a certificate of deposit. I talked to folks at Central Bank 2 weeks ago. Right now, their best rates on the 9-month instrument, it was at that time 4.35. I know it moves a little every day. But what I was proposing was we currently have $73,000 in that meter fund that doesn't draw a nickel of interest. that if we took 50,000 of that and put it in that CD for the next 9 months, at least we'd be deferring some of that. I'd even entertain, if the board so inclined, to take some of the Fund 20 money, which is the building, and just kind of play the rate delta on what we're paying on the building here. I think is only 2.25 or something. We could get 4%. Right now, Fund 20 has got 51,000 in it, and we can get 25,000, and we'll still be bringing in new along the way, and just use that to kind of hedge down the payment on the building.
You said it was a 9-month CD?
Yeah. Yeah, we can either do 2 or one big one.
Just put it all together.
We have enough to make the payment and then we're.
Right.
The city's allowed to do that, all right?
Yes. It's according to the folks at the bank.
Okay.
And we used to have them, when I first got on the board, we had $300,000 or $400,000.
I'll move that we take that water money or sewer money and the 50,000 from the Fund 20, put it into a CD.
I'd recommend 25.
25, sorry.
75 between the two.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, folks. Next up, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding AGH's proposal to provide accounting services.
Good evening, Mike Lowry with Allen Gibbs & Hewlett. We're a CPA and advisor firm, and I have my colleague Marjorie here with me as well. And Joe had invited us here this evening to answer any questions you might have. A little background, Natalie had contacted us maybe a month or so ago and in my office, and I had a few calls with her just discussing some of the challenges the city was having in the finance department. And then was invited to come visit with her and Joe here in the city, which we did last week, or I think July 2nd was the date. Kind of talking about our services and how we felt we could help the city. But he suggested that we come tonight and maybe answer any questions that you might have regarding the engagement letter or the possibilities of helping you out.
So you would be able to provide us with the services of a staff
Right.
accountant?
So a little more background on our experience. We do a lot of audits, financial statements audits here in the Casey metro area. We're the external auditors for Kansas City, Missouri. We're the external auditors for Jackson County. We were the external auditors for the unified government for over 20 years. We now are in a consulting role. They use us to help them prepare for their external financial statement audit. And we're seeing a need, what over the last few years is just growing, especially with the smaller cities in Missouri, being able to hang on to a finance professional. Government accounting is not the same as commercial accounting, so they really don't teach what we do in school, so you have to learn it on the job. And then, you fold in what we call the GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, which is the accounting guidance that municipalities have to follow when it comes to their accounting. It's just becoming more and more onerous. A lot of the finance professionals are wanting to move to bigger markets, make more money because of their skill set, and so the little cities are kind of struggling to be able to pay that. So we are able to provide a solution where you can outsource your finance functions or pieces of it, whatever you decide. And really the biggest advantage that you get is it adds stability to your finance department. So you're not facing turnover every 1, 2, 3 years. You also get just not one individual, you get the experience of a whole firm behind you. And we have a pretty diverse practice. So even if you came to us with a question that was outside of the financial accounting and reporting realm, we probably have an expert in our office that could help get you the answer. So just from what we've evaluated, and I would suggest no decision be made tonight for sure, But we would like to come back for another day and just visit, do a little bit deeper dive to make sure that we're going to add the value, that we can add the value, and figure out what the process would be, that kind of thing. So I've been the outsourced finance director for the city of Greenwood. We were just speaking with the city of Lake Lotawana this morning, visiting with those folks, and it's just really becoming a need, and we have a whole team that can do that. And again, I think that, you know, the biggest advantage is just adding stability to your finance department. And then in addition, I know Joe was doing payroll, and we talked about outsourcing payroll as well. You know, when it comes to tax compliance, HR compliance, labor compliance, all those compliances, you know, you're really putting the city at risk if you don't have an HR payroll professional doing payroll, because one little slip up can, you know, cost you.
You don't need that insurance and stuff.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I did, the engagement letter kind of has our rates, and as I mentioned to Joe, if the city were to engage us, you know, obviously we have to make it economically feasible for the city. And usually the first 2 to 3 months, the fees, the monthly fees are a little bit higher because we're in here, we're trying to figure things out, we're putting processes in place, and then we get it to where we level off, to where everything is operating smoothly, and then the fees go down. And generally we can, you know, this is just a kind of a ballpark figure, but whatever you're paying your finance director, less the benefits, we can usually come in right at that. And again, adding stability. But we talked about payroll, and I told Joe I would bring a quote for him tonight. He did speak with our payroll professional in our office. And Joe, I was just going to hand this to you, but the quote they put together is for $7,000 a year for outsourcing of payroll. And
How much was that?
7,000. 7,000, yeah, so roughly 600 a month.
Extra zeros I did here. Check.
No. It's actually a pretty good deal, pretty economical, I believe, but let's see what else did I want to mention.
Did process the accounts payable.
What am I forgetting, Margie?
We would, so, we would, yeah.
Margie
From
is
an-
our consulting manager that works with me.
Yeah, what we would do is, ideally, we would come into the office, and that's when accounts payable will be processed, when we're physically present in the office. We know you guys keep a lot of paper records, which is just fine. That should be simple enough to do. I presume you're processing payables before the council meeting, so the council can approve, or the board can approve them, which is traditional. So those things are pretty standard to occur. One of the other things that we do, when we talked with Natalie and Joe, the city of Buckner is prepared to issue debt to do a project with ARPA funds. That will require the city to pass an audit, an external audit. And we review the document where the last auditors came in and had some concerns. And documented some areas where, you know, it needs some attention. Because we have the experience that we have and in a large audit practice, those are things that we are well suited to be able to help you organize your records so that those can be presented.
Right. And we do have clients specifically that's all we do for them. We do their audit preparation, we help prepare for their audit. I actually help the state of Kansas prepare for their audit, which is going to be starting in a couple of weeks. That's a large part of what we're doing for the unified government.
But having the multiple people available
Right.
helps with separation of duties, so the
Absolutely.
same person's not.
Yeah, so Margie is correct. You know, the city will need to pass an audit for those GO bonds, and it's been a number of years, I think, since they've had a traditional audit. I think it's been like a review or compilation or something like that. So it's really not just coming in and auditing that year and then you pass because you haven't had an audit, or the city hasn't had an audit for a number of years. You have to go back to like the year before and audit those numbers so that you get good beginning balances numbers so that you can do the current year under audit. So there's a lot of work related to that as well, getting that up to speed. I understand that one of the hurdles has been the asset listing, the fixed asset listing, and getting that cleaned up. That's definitely something we can assist with as well. So.
Any questions?
You're ballparking your figures at around 70,000 a year, that was what I heard.
Well, I think Natalie, she told us her salary was around 50 to 60 or something, and that's kind of, now, if you add the payroll outsourcing service as a separate thing, then you might get closer to that. But for the outsourced finance function, you know, the goal would be to keep it at what you were paying your finance professional, less, you know, you're not gonna be paying us benefits and stuff like that, so you get a cost savings there. So that is the goal, yeah.
Is there an extra fee for the audit?
For the, well, we can't do the audit because it's an independence issue, but the audit preparation would be included in our outsourcing services fees, yes. And I will mention, you know, that's probably going to be a pretty big job too. So like I said, the first 2 or 3 months, you know, we probably see the spike like that, but the goal would be once we get the city all settled, get all the processes, the correct segregation of duties in place, everybody kind of knows their lane and we're running smoothly, then, you know, you're going to see just a flat invoice pretty much every month.
On the audit side, I'm sorry, on the audit side, I would anticipate some of the fees that you all have been paying for audit are directly related to the skills and experience of your governmental accounting staff, right? So if they don't have the skills and experience to prepare the work papers correctly or in the manner that are required, it's going to incur more fees for the city on the audit side. With having a firm that has that experience, you should anticipate having a much smoother audit process because we know what to expect and we kind of gear our work towards that.
And I think that's why we ended up doing compilations instead of full audits.
For the cost.
Yeah, so that is true, because in Missouri, fourth class cities, if you don't have debt in the way of geo bonds, you know, you don't really have to have an audit.
Where you all located?
We have offices in Corporate Woods and then in Wichita campus, and Margie lives up here, and then I also live up here part-time down here. We are considered local, I guess.
And then I also find out that they are very familiar with Encode software, so it's not like we're gonna have to go out and have to train somebody to run the new software like we do everybody else that's coming to play.
We do have a number of clients using Encode.
Yeah, and I worked for a city for 10 years as the finance director doing all of the financials for that city, a small fourth-class city, using the Encode product. And like Mike said, we have several of our clients that are using Encode. I'm kind of the resident expert on, and Mike and I are the resident experts on how do we make this work in Encode and how do we correct the structure in Encode. So we are very familiar with that product.
I have a question for you, Mr. Mayor. What's your timeline? Would you want to get on this here pretty soon, or fiscal year, or?
I would say sooner rather than later, just because we're without somebody right now, and I don't know how we're trying to get the bills paid. I think it's like going on Joe's desk.
Okay.
So, not saying we have to take the first stop that comes, but they do have experience in governmental accounting, as he said. That's a different animal.
I don't have quite enough, but I did just bring some.
And I'm sorry, I didn't print the engagement letter, because I thought you would have the food with you.
I'll put two over here and two over here. I started out with more earlier today, but we've had a few meetings, so.
You said you wanted to come back.
Yeah, talk to the staff. So in terms of how the work flows every day, we did not have that discussion when we met with Joe and Natalie, because we met with Joe and Natalie. But really understanding the inputs of the data and inputs of the process, having a conversation with the folks that are actually doing the work every day, that's helpful to understand how we frame the work that we would do for you.
And to Mr. Ross's question, based on the pricing structure that's presented, it's at the run rate, so it would be material.
Yeah, once we establish a process and those types of things, one of the great things that we do is we delegate work to, if it is work that a staff level person can do, we have them do that. So you're not paying a higher level fee for someone that it's not required. So Mike and I are more senior, and we focus our time on the more senior activities. And we have staff level people that report to us that do that kind of work that is overseen by us. But that way we're able to help our cities with the lower cost efficiency.
So it's a sliding scale, and we try to push the lower level work down to the lower level staff people with the lower rates so that it works out to your benefit, so the city.
Because if you take on the payables, then would you be able to take that off of Casey?
What's that?
Then Casey generate the water bills down and send those out?
Yeah.
So that would be a payable, or I guess that's a receivable, but.
So typically from a separation of duties, you would need a separate person to generate that receivable versus the accounting side that oversees that. So typically those duties remain separate.
So we'd have to leave it.
Yeah.
On the finance side, accounts payable is a traditional finance function with signature authority, usually sitting with the city administrator and the mayor. But those are the types of process things that we would be evaluating to make sure that we have good internal controls in the city, and where there are areas where there is crossover, we can make some recommendations with your current staff on how you can make those things work.
Yeah, and it's important to note that the city's not giving up control to us. We don't, the city still maintains the control. We don't have any signature authority. If we have access to the bank, it's review only so that we can, maybe download bank recs or something like that, but, we can't make transfers from one account to the other. It's just view only, and if we give you something, you do the final approval, you do all the signing, you don't give control over to us.
Natalie was our first, I think, real, for lack of a better, real accountant. We've got bookkeepers or what have you, we've got outsourced stuff, but I think it would be good to have some good structure and help us.
I agree.
Kind of put some things in place, and that would bring continuity, because as you said, we had Natalie because she was in school, and then when she finished up, they said, this is what happens.
Right. Yeah.
And you're not alone. Like Mike said, there are many fourth-class cities in Missouri that experience the same challenge. And it's hard. It's hard to recruit people to come to fourth-class cities, and then once you get in there, usually you're only there until they can, stamp their resume and, shuffle it out to a larger organization for money, which we get completely. But it is a challenge. I will tell you, in the city that I was at, I was the only degree accountant, but I had lots of people that worked with me. I don't have an issue with people that are non-degree supporting functions that feed into the financial system. I'm happy to train people. We have a training mentality in our practice, and that we want your city to be successful and your resources that are here to be successful, and we're happy to coach and help them do that. So we're not looking to replace anyone, to remove anyone. That's just not how we operate.
May I have one question?
Yes, sir.
Did the city administrator have a chance to check any references of the other cities that?
I'm actually going to provide references. I'm going to email Joe. Like I said, we don't want to finalize it tonight because we do want to come back, and that would give time to check our references.
Sometimes we have to shoot from the hip and.
Yeah. We're not asking you to do that. We still have a little bit of due diligence on both sides, right? You guys need to talk to some of our references.
That sounds fine.
We want to come back, do a little deeper dive, and so that we're all on the same page, and it's going to be a win-win for everybody. We want Art Life to be a good fit for us as well as we're a good fit for you. And so this was just to see, what kind of questions you had, any concerns, things like that.
No, pretty awesome. You guys pioneers in this service, or?
No. Well, I think maybe in the Kansas, Missouri, you see a lot of consultants, but they're just like a single person that is going around helping the city here and there. We model our practice off of a firm in Oklahoma, actually. Years ago, we do the audit for Oklahoma City as well. And this is how I learned about the firm, because they helped us with an introduction into the city of Oklahoma. But these guys speak at like all the big government finance conferences. Their brothers, Mike and Mark Crawford, and they started their firm as an audit firm for governments, and then quickly realized in Oklahoma it's similar, a similar setup and similar need. And they turned their firm, and they don't even do audits anymore. They just do government consulting and help smaller governments. So that's kind of what we've modeled our practice over for about the past few years. So.
Always a big turnover and everything in small cities.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Just let me know if any questions. Mike. Too, but it was good.
Discussion, consideration, possible action regarding mosquito management. Mr. Cole?
I've been fielding some complaints from citizens. There's a big mosquito problem, probably due to the influx of rain this year. I don't know, I mean, I know we talked about this before, and I don't know if it'd be worth trying to do education practice for citizens on, you know, making sure containers, no water sitting, and, yeah, like, or, I know we'd entertained a granular thing, or, I don't know if it's an education thing, or if we need to implement something ourselves. This is, I know in my backyard it's very challenging to go outside for very long, because you get ate up pretty fast. But, I mean, I've had several people contact me about it. So I don't know what the answer is, but I just wanted, I said I'd bring it up, so.
If only been some sort of foul to eat those mosquitoes.
You know, it just seemed like it didn't matter where I go, I get ate up. So it doesn't even have to be here in Buckner. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go, the mosquitoes are there.
What did we do last year? Because I remember we were gonna do something with Sibley and then we didn't because.
We had too many complaints when everybody came in and they didn't want to kill the bees.
Right.
and
So
all
we just
that.
went to
So
the puzzle
kinda-
together, right?
Well, it was, yeah, this stuff was said right on the bottle that it was.
Because we had one
bees.
time, when we first discussed this a couple years ago, we had the contractor that does civil was gonna come down to our town.
Right.
And we used to quote, and then we had too many people complaining about it and killing the bees and.
Right, I remember
all
there was
that. And then we
concern
tried, we
with
talked
that.
about doing that granular at the park and let people try it there, but.
Well,
And it's still-
can I say something?
Did we?
So Alderman Butts had got that, you guys approved that, and that's still sitting down at the pool house at the park. It's not been tried yet,
Oh, well, there you go.
but
We were
We
gonna do
don't
it just
have
in the
a-
park and see what.
Yeah.
there's not a mosquito problem really in the park, so.
That's because you got all those granulars down. Don't make me use this
And
on
like I said, we had an old fog machine, it don't work at all anymore.
Why doesn't it?
You know, and then
But
kids.
Sibley did say that they would take care of it, and they were really reasonable at doing it.
Yeah, but there were probably killed honeybees if I remember right.
Yeah.
Well, it has the
It does.
potential to kill honeybees, but the honeybees don't operate at night. Because I think that was the concern, that this is evening, bees go to their hives. I'm not saying I want to kill bees. I also don't want to get West Nile or other things. I mean, it's seriously bad. There's it's a problem in town. But, I mean, if we can try the granulars, even in the pocket park, maybe that's a more, you know,
Well, funny thing is I just talked to Amber West, she's the head of the league, and I know in between the two fields where there's always water in the ditch, I was getting ate up when I was cleaning up trash through there. So I just talked to her and I told her she's welcome to spread that in between the fields to see if it works. But that's just it. Somebody has to monitor it and actually see if it's going to work.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
I'll try something.
Well, the thing with pesticides and bees isn't the fact that it just kills them right there. If the pesticides have created a immune disease in the bees, which is caused by the pesticides. And that's why they were disappearing throughout the world. Started in China. There you go. So to me, any kind of pesticide that's against bees is something we shouldn't use, to me.
So-
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, is there somebody that can educate us on other products that may be more environmental friendly than?
I don't know.
I think the concern with that other stuff was when they sprayed it at night, the sellers do versus the exchange. It'll still be there, the bees will.
Oh, can you exchange,
Yeah,
extension?
somebody that could,
I can see, I can call and see.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone that sells the pesticides would be on that side, and somebody else on the other
Yeah, if
side.
you get a bee farm in there.
What she said though, I mean, bat houses get rid of
Yeah.
millions of mosquitoes a night.
What is it?
Bat houses.
Bats, yeah.
Bats.
Oh,
They're very effective.
Cat house.
We use a spray that's,
Not true.
99% garlic, and then
Yep.
we go around the house with that on the exterior, and Sherry can't even walk anywhere without mosquito bite. She's my go-to person to go for a walk with, because they don't bother me if she's along. But that garlic does pretty good. You have to spray every so often, but, it's not.
Bees and people.
What are those
What's that?
birds that?
Said bees, people, and vampires.
Mosquitoes too.
Yeah, there you
Those
go.
houses up. What are those?
Marlins.
Yeah.
Dragonflies are another,
There's another one too.
mosquito eater.
What is the house that has like a whole bunch of holes on it?
Uh-huh.
What kind of birds are those? Martin?
Martin.
Martin
It's not
house.
Martin, it's Martin.
Yeah. Martin.
Yes, Martin House.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if you could get a grant for that.
Maybe a-
Yeah, Martin grants.
Go around and put them in every neighborhood for 4 of them?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Hey, it's one less eater eating on me.
Uh-huh.
So Park will proceed on trying to put it in the ditch, see if that stuff works. If it does, then we can look at further distribution if the board so inclined. Next up, consideration, possible action regarding the park board's request for $10,000 of equipment for the new spray park. I think you got pictures in the back of your packet. Would you like to tell us anything about it, or?
I've just been doing some research. We need to add a couple picnic tables, trash cans, and benches,
Bicycle rack.
and the bicycle rack.
Are those powder coated?
Yes.
That lasts quite a while.
Yeah, and they're steel, and the tables I chose, they are up to 1,600 pounds, so each chair will hold up to 450 pounds. If you looked at the others, they're like 200 pounds, 250, stuff like that.
What do you say?
So that will cover 5,000. There's still another 5,000 that Park Board approved. We've got several other things that we need to add in. One, right now we have telephone poles in front of the spray park. That way a car can't accidentally hit the gas and run into the spray park itself. So we're gonna replace that either with bollards or fencing, rocks, something like that. I haven't had time to look into the prices on that stuff yet. But that's
That
one
would be a
thing.
Good idea on your part, Tony. Kill two birds with one stone. I like that.
So that's one option that we're looking at. We're also looking at the option of shade, because there's not a lot of shade. Everybody seems to be sitting right next to the bathrooms. Yeah,
That's me. That's all right.
yeah. But we have some other things.
I have a question, if you're finished with that. Has all the bills been submitted and paid for the completion of the water park at this point?
There's still one more.
It's at about, the last one was submitted, it hasn't been sent to you yet from Joel, but whenever that one comes in, that's gonna be somewhere around 85–90%, complete. We're waiting on a few things.
Yeah, I talked to Joe this afternoon, and he said that your request, 58,000, that leaves like 19 to 20,000 left. as
So it's
petition.
less, right around 10% or so left, something like that, 10 or 15%. And then it'll be complete. We're waiting on a few of the last things to come in.
And they currently have around 340,000.
I just want to make sure that we got everybody paid in a timely fashion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's one person that isn't getting paid in timely fashion.
Is there a
Motion to approve the 10,000. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, elected officials comments? I just, like, Joe, if we can, maybe get this on our website or somehow communicate. Over about the last 14 months, I appreciate what the board's done. We've redone South Central, South Hudson, Jefferson Park Street, done the spray park, ongoing water repairs, and got the start on the sewer upgrade. And appreciate everybody working to help us keep our budget in check and we're able to fund these. We've done that all with no debt. So as you heard, one of the other consequences, not only does it give us access to our revenue streams, it also means that we don't have to pay for that higher end audit. So appreciate it's all done, but I just kind of like to communicate to the community that, if you live on South Hudson or South Central, Park Street, you probably know that we've done those streets. If you don't, you probably
So
don't.
just want to list of all the stuff that we
Yeah,
did.
just a list of the, kind of the public works projects, the substantial ones, that we've done in the last 12 to 14 months. Yes,
In that same vein, Joe, when we hired this new computer company, did they say anything about redoing our website?
But they had nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We need to find somebody to get that website redesigned.
I mean, I get bombarded with calls from website designers all over, yeah. I know some people, yeah. I mean, that's something you can look into. Because I agree, it's,
Yeah, it's pretty helpful to go
Yeah,
through the
it's-
website.
yeah, it's hard to complicate, and when you call them, I mean, they do a good job as far as getting it done in a timely manner, but when you call them, it's just, they just don't know the phone.
Right, yeah, they just throw it up there. There's no rhyme or reason
Do they have
where it
any
goes.
programs up at the school, or CTC, any programs up there that they could help design?
Oh, yeah,
students,
Yeah, those kids are pretty good.
Yeah, at the next chamber meeting, I'll talk too much of name from the school,
Stephanie?
Stephanie.
Yeah.
I know they did offer that at one time, not to the city, but to everybody at the chamber, that they could come in and help design a webpage for you and all that.
Yeah, we can partner with them, that'd be great.
Raquel, Tony, thanks for everything you've done this month. It was tremendous. It was a lot.
Turned out pretty cool, thank you. And the usage is unreal. The kids are loving it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just gotta get that sign up there that says, "Don't go up the slide."
I still gotta read
And
that.
any day.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping tomorrow they call.
If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Stand adjourned.